Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs and welcome to week 6 of my 12 weeks of Christmas series. Hard to believe that we're already only 6 weeks away from Christmas. So this is the set of cards that I made for this video. I'll hold them up so you guys can check them out in all their glory. There are several different colors. I do like to make a set of cards usually in this series because if someone that's more their jam, then that's something I like to do. So I'll kind of show you them really quickly one by one so you can see the colors. And yeah, then we'll jump into the actual making of the cards. But I think this set turned out stunning. So let's jump right in. All right, so I do like to do sets in an assembly line style. So you're going to kind of see me do everything times 5. Hopefully that's not too boring to watch, but that is the easiest way I have found to create cards like this. So I used a piece of Canson watercolor cardstock. I have my Canson cut down. I like to buy the pads of it. You can get them at Michael's in Canada and of course Amazon and whatnot, but and I like to actually kind of have them prepared, as I find it way easier when I do want to do something like this than to have to whip out the big pad of, because I think it comes in 9x12. So I just cut it into quarters and then have it kind of prepped and ready to go. And then I'm going to use some Tonic frosted silver cardstock. And so you saw me bring in a sheet to start with because I wanted to cut it into quarters, and then I'm going to trim off a little bit. So I made the silver part be about 1/8 of an inch, and then the Canson watercolor cardstock is about 1/4 of an inch. You guys know that as a general rule, I don't really measure things. I kind of just eyeball them and go about my day, but that is what I was aiming for, because I just wanted like a thin layer. And this is cold press watercolor cardstock, so you have a really textured side and then a slightly less textured side. And I love texture, so I chose to use the more textured side for this. And for the kind of splattery background, I chose to bring in 1 mica color for each card, mica spray stain. And you can see like I'll do this big spray of color, and then I'll kind of gently press down on the nozzle to kind of try to get bigger drips. You really see it on this purple one, but I did that with all of them. I just wanted that extra texture because I find that super interesting. But there's no right or wrong way to do this. Honestly, I think this is just a really fun project because you kind of get to be very whimsical and loose with it because there's no right or wrong way to do it. You're just spraying on some color. So for the 5 colors that I did use, I have Frosty Mint, Snow Flurries, Fresh Balsam, WinterBerry, and Hocus Pocus. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I think that this is just kind of a cool card design. You could easily do this, with some watercolor, or you could ink smoosh. You don't have to have sprays for this. I use sprays because I love my sprays. You guys know this if you've been with my channel for a while, and you know that I especially love the mica sprays, just because I love that shimmer and shine that it leaves, and because it's pretty much a mix of like the oxide sprays and the ink sprays, so you get like that bright beautiful mica, but you also get a vibrant color. So I have a lot of fun with my mica sprays, and if you love them as much as me, make sure that you pick them up because I'm pretty sure they're going to disappear now until Halloween of next year because they are a seasonal product. So if you love them, make sure you grab them, especially with Black Friday coming. Maybe there'll be some good sales. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what I was thinking. And I did heat set these. Now, originally, and you're going to see this because I left this in so you guys could check it out, but I really wanted to silver emboss on these. And you're going to see that I struggle, and then I have to kind of pivot my idea. So I heat set them, and then I brought in a piece of paper towel to kind of dab off anything that was left. I've also walked away and come back later to finish these because I gave them some extra drying time. So here you're going to see that I've brought in this beautiful snowflake and the sentiment that I wanted to use. They're both from the Christmas... Oh, sorry. I'm lying to you that's not true. The sentiment is from the Christmas Blessings sentiment stamps. The snowflake is from another Simon Says Stamp set. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I can link to it if you guys are interested. But you can see that I'm kind of struggling. So the sentiment goes on stunningly, but this is very textured paper, and it didn't work well. So I did prep it with my anti-static powder tool to even give it more of a chance not to have the powder stick where I don't want it. and it doesn't work. This one, I don't know what went wrong here. Like it didn't stamp whatsoever. And of course I can't see it. So I have to kind of do this and then put on the powder to see, but you can see this snowflake barely stamped at all. And I put on more powder just to kind of check it. And then I'm like, nope, this didn't work. So at this point, I decide to pivot. I'm going to bring in a flat paintbrush and I'm going to just wipe off the snowflake because I haven't heat set anything. You can easily remove the powder. So I did that here. I left the sentiment because it was perfect. And then I'm also going to remove it from the pink one here in a second. And you can see that I am cleaning up any excess powder also that's kind of stuck near the sentiment just to clean it up. And then I'm just going to remove that. And I pivot completely here. I'm going to stamp the sentiment on all of them. And then I'm going to heat set that. But for the actual snowflake, I'm going to bring in a die instead. And this is the Simon Says Stamp Sophie Snowflake die. And this is a part of my stash. This came out a few years ago. I'm pretty sure it's still available. If it isn't, I'll link to another beautiful snowflake die, but I'm pretty sure it's available. Christina Warner designed these, and all of her snowflakes are always stunning. Like they're just beautiful. So it's super detailed. So you can see that I brought in my chrome plate, and I am cutting the snowflake out of the center of the silver panel that we're going to mount the card on. So there's no waste here. And it just, because I couldn't get the panel to be dry enough to get the embossing powder to stick nicely to just where I needed it. And it seemed like because that paper was so textured, it just kind of stuck in areas I just didn't want it. So instead of fighting with it and getting really frustrated, I just wiped it off and went a different direction. This is kind of where it's great if you own a couple of things in something you love. Like if you guys have been with me for a while, you know that I love snowflakes so much. So I have a couple of stamp sets. I have a couple of dies. I have a couple of charms and different snowflake things that I can kind of pivot with and change my design. So I still have the exact same design. It's just instead of embossing them, I'm going to, die cut them and adhere them on. So to adhere them, now this is where you could have used double-sided adhesive. I didn't. Usually I forget. So I'm going to use this micro dot sheet. The only problem I did find with this is that I have used this before. If you guys watched that purple and silver wedding card I did a couple of weeks ago, I used this for that, and it's hard to tell where there's still enough adhesive. So the pink one was first, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly where I put that die cut piece that I did a couple of weeks ago. So there wasn't enough adhesive on this, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. So I'm going to remove them all, and I stick them all on their panels. And I eyeball this. I mean, they're not going to be perfect. Obviously, if I had embossed them with my Misti, they would have all been in the same place. With this, I kind of just eyeball it and hope that it's right. But honestly, I can't see somebody receiving one of these cards and being like, the snowflake's not perfect. Like I just can't see somebody doing it. I can see them being like wowed by the color or whatever. Actually, these specific cards, my coworker asked for a set of cards that she could send out to some friends and family. So these are actually specifically for her. But I just can't see somebody saying something negative about these. They're stunning. Like you can't go wrong with, just a beautiful pop of color and then some metallics. Like I think that just is a recipe for a beautiful card. So there are a few areas that I'm going to show you here that I did have to go in with my glue and just adhere them back down. So I'm going through them and just double checking the snowflake. Each one of them had, one piece of the snowflake that was kind of sitting up more than I wanted it to. So I just added a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to stick them under my Misti when I actually adhere all of the layers. I also have an acrylic block sitting on top of them. You can kind of see it to the left. And that's just making sure that there's no issues adhering them to this really textured cardstock. Because if you've ever worked with, especially a cold press watercolor, there are a lot of texture there. So it's just, this will help it to be adhesive and stick to where I need it to stay. But yeah, this is kind of the idea for this. And you're going to see on that pink one, a lot of the areas didn't stick. And honestly, it's because I know that I did use that area of the micro dot sheet. So there wasn't much adhesive left there. And that's on me. I probably should buy some more because those are super handy. It's just, that's what I had on hand. So that's what I used, right? But, I'm a firm believer of using what you have. There are other ways, of course, to adhere this. This is just the way I chose. And then I'm going to do all of the layers kind of again, assembly line. I'm going to adhere my silver panel and my top panel middle, and then I'm going to adhere it to my base, and this is where I'm going to set it underneath my Misti so that they have a really good chance for all the layers to adhere. You can't see it right away because it is kind of off the screen to the left hand side, but after I've got everything lined up, I set it on the desk there, and then I do set it under the Misti. You'll see me shift them over here in a second, but that is kind of the idea for this. And I just thought that this card set, it's really simple. You could easily recreate these quite quickly if you needed a whole bunch of cards. You just pick different colors. And if you prefer a more traditional color palette, there's no reason you couldn't bring in a more, like more reds and greens and done kind of that color palette instead. The person that I'm making these for, she prefers a non-traditional palette, which to me is awesome because you guys know I really like a non-traditional color palette for Christmas cards. I think it's really fun. So this worked out really well because then I got to kind of just choose random colors. And I actually brought in a couple I hadn't used before. This one right here is Fresh Balsam. Is it fresh? Yeah, it is Fresh Balsam. And I've never used that color. And I also had not used Frosty Mint, which is the other green one. So I thought that was really fun to kind of bust out sprays that I hadn't used. But there are multiple colors. So if you needed, like, I don't even know how many colors they're out now. There's quite a few. If you needed lots of cards, you could easily do one of each color and have, like a good amount of cards. So, I mean, you would have to have a fair amount of metallic cardstock, but you easily could bring in other colors of metallic as well if you wanted to. I chose silver because that was the preferred metallic that my coworker wanted when I asked her. So that is kind of what I went for, but you could use any of the metallics for this. And then, of course, for a final touch, I did have to bring in these beautiful silver pearls. Excuse me. These are the satin ones, so they have just a bit of a more muted look. They're they're not blindingly bright. Like, I don't know the right word. They're a satin finish, so they have a little bit more of a subtle look, but they're stunning. You guys know that I love pearls. So any excuse to bust out some pearls, and it kind of just elevates this more simple design, but this design would be easily recreatable, and it doesn't even have to be a snowflake. Like, if you prefer something else, it could be a flower, it could be a candy cane, it could be literally anything. You're just kind of creating this really fun look. But I thought that they turned out really pretty. So I'd love to know what you guys think of this set of cards. I'm pretty excited about them, so I had a lot of fun making them, but I'm always interested to hear what you guys think. So that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and of course, every video up till Christmas on Mondays will be Christmas related in some facet, so that's always kind of fun. And if you have any ideas of something you'd like me to make in this Christmas series, let me know. If there's something specific you'd like to see, as long as it's not a super time consuming project, I don't see any reason why I couldn't make it. So by all means, leave me your ideas. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.